Welcome to the second part of our Nuxt 3 URL shortener course. In this part, we are going to be covering a lot of topic, including creating a static page for the link where we'll count the number of clicks we are getting, and also we'll log whoever is clicking on our links. So it is going to be a jam-packed tutorial. So get ready and let's hop into the video. Let's see what you have built in the last video and then we do the additions. So let me just make the window a little bit bigger so that you can see the project in the desktop view. So as you can see, we have awesome landing page. So now if you click on the short now, it would be redirected by our middleware, and now you have two login option. One, you can either log in with your email and password. The another one is OAuth login that is connected with the GitHub. So in order to log in, you have to do it with one of these options. So let's just log in with GitHub. So the GitHub part was done in the last video, and then we had that navigation, dynamic navigation. When you are logged in, it will show the logout button. So if you now click on the short now button, it will take you to the dashboard, and in the dashboard you will see all the previous backlink, not backlink, the short link we have created. Now in this card you have option to copy the short link, and then you can go to a browser and then you can test if it is working or not, right? So that is all working. So now what we wanted to do, we wanted to create some analytic feature into this URL shortener. By analytic I mean a link details page where we'll have all the total clicks, and whoever is clicking on this page will have their IP addresses and their location. So let's see how it will look in the production. So before recording this video, I have already built this application and made it open source. You are having the GitHub link in the description. That is the GitHub for this page. I have made some other improvements as well. So what will happen in the details page? So let me go take you to the dashboard. So inside the dashboard you can see we have the click matrix right here in the card itself, right? So that is there, but what will happen if you click on this card? It will take you to the description page, the details page for that particular link, and from here you can see a big total clicks metric, and then you can see multiple different cards. So these cards are basically referred to as your clicks. So these clicks are logged application itself. So what is happening actually? So whenever someone visits that link, we are just taking their information and storing it to our Supabase dashboard, and then with the Supabase function we are incrementing that click. So if you are dig deeper into a Supabase function and automation, then this video is for you. So watch till the end, and I hope you will be able to replicate the project by yourself, or maybe you can use this knowledge to build something on your own. So whatever it is, just watch till the end. So be ready for it. Take some tea or coffee in between. So let's just start the video. In the last video, inside the pages, inside this all catcher page, what we have created a dynamic route which will catch all the route, including the 404 errors as well. So this ID, this parenthesis ID, will catch all the pages. So whenever you go using it to any route, so our application will catch all these route, and then this page will process those route. So how are we doing that? So inside the pages, in the root of the page, we have created this dynamic route. That means each and every route that you are going to access will go through this page. That's what we want, because we don't know what the program is going to create as a short key, right? So what we have done, we have taken a params. So the params will have the ID, right? Whatever the route, the next route would be, that would be treated as the ID. So we are checking if ID is exist, then we are processing all this thing. If the ID doesn't exist, we are simply throwing a 404 error. And then in the next step, what I am doing, I'm getting the data using the use async data hook given by Nuxt, and I'm getting this data in server side. And then what I'm telling if the key in our database equals to the params ID, I mean whatever the key we are getting from the route, we are fetching that data. And if that data doesn't found, then what we are doing, we're throwing not found. Okay, and then otherwise we are returning data, right? So if the value exists and the value has long URL, that is we are getting it from the Supabase panel. If we are getting the long URL, then what we are doing, we are giving it to our use external redirect composable. This composable, in the last video we have created it by ourselves. So what it will do, let me take you to the composable function. So if you see here properly, it will check if the URL is a valid URL. If it is indeed a valid URL, then it will check if our application is in server state or client state. If it is in server state, then we are going to redirect the long URL from the server. Otherwise, we are going to use the window method of the client side of our application of the browser to be saying. So we are just redirecting them using the window location href, and we are just setting it to URL. That means this will redirect the user, but then it will be happening in the front end, not on the server side. So that's what we have built for the redirection in the part 1 of the video. Now, while we are here, what we would like to do, we would like to collect some information about the user, and then we are going to log it to our clicks table. So let me take you to the Supabase and see what are the data we are going to insert in that table. So if you haven't watched how I have set up the Supabase, then it's best idea to start from the video 1 and then come to this part. Okay, so let's log in. I have already logged in, and this is the project I'm working on. So this project, then in the table editor, you can see I have two tables. One is clicks, another is links. So if I click on clicks, and if I make the window a little bit bigger so that you can see what are the fields we have, you can see we have a ID, we have a foreign key relation with the link ID that is getting it clicked from, and then we have a timestamp, and then we have the IP, that is a type of various character. Then we have the country, we have the city, and we have the user agent. So what we'll do, we'll get the IP from the user. So let me just simplify the process for you. So whenever someone visits our short link, right, it will come in this page. We are going to search for the link in our database. If that is found, then what we'll do, we will take the user IP address, right? Once we get the IP address, what we will do, we will using the help of IP geolocation, we're going to take the geolocation of the particular IP, and then we're going to send the data. And for the user agent, we can just get it from the request itself. So each request have a user agent. So maybe if you are requesting from a browser, then the browser user agent string would be stored, and user agent contains a lot of information about the device, about the device model, the browser model. So those information might be needed for later purpose for analytics, right? So there is that. So let's start coding it, and let's see how we are going to do that. analytic part. So the first step would be to get the user agent from the request. So how are we going to do that? If it was a node project or an express project, or for let's say it was a normal view project, then it was really easy. If it was a simple client-side application, then you can tap into the browser navigator and then you can get the user agent, right? That's how you do navigator.user agent. But it's not a client side and it's not a fully server side. So we need to have a mechanism to check whether the app is in client mode or it is in rendered in on the backend in the server. So if it is in server, then the obtaining the user agent is a little bit different, and if it is in client, then it's a whole different story for getting the user agent. So first, what I will do, just like we did for the external redirect engine, what I will do, I will create another composable, and we are going to name this composable as use user agent. So let's create that file. So first of all, what I will do, I will create a type for it. So use user agent, and I will send a user agent as string, and I will also be sending the IP address, and the IP address might not be there. Okay, so yeah, now what I'll do, I'll create the function and I'll export the composable. And it will it will be of the return type user agent, or it might be null as well, just for the safer side. Okay, so let's start. So it is giving me the error because I don't have anything, I don't have any return statement right here, so that will be gone in a moment. So let's check if our application is in server side mode. So how do you do that? If you remember from the last video, we can use something called process.server. So this boolean would be true if it is on the server side mode. So if it is in server, then what we can do, we can use another composable called use Nuxt app. This will give us the Nuxt app, and then inside that we can get the current event that user is requesting. So let's create a new variable and let's name it Nuxt app. And what we'll do, we will use the use Nuxt app composable. Okay, so if I show you the composable docs, you can see it returns the current Nuxt instance. So we are tapping into the Nuxt instance with this composable. Now what we can do, we can check if the Nuxt app has the SSR context and it has the event request. Okay, so for that, let's take our if statement, and what I'll do, I'll write Nuxt app dot SSR context if that is true, and the Nuxt app dot SSR context dot event dot request. So the event dot request is deprecated, so it's better to go with node and then request. So this will give us the request, the raw request that has been passed in the backend. So if you have used framework like Express or some different backend framework, then you might have known that when you receive a request, you get basically one request, right? So that request contains a whole lot of things about the request maker. For example, their IP address, their headers, their all the other authentication cookies and all you can receive from here. Okay, you can maybe what you can do, you can console.log and then you can check what is there in this request variable. Okay, so if these two things exist, then what we are going to do, we are going to get a new variable name IP. Okay, so this is how we are going to get the IP. So basically let me just because we are going to use this request a lot of time, so it's a good idea to create a new variable and just name it request, and we'll assign the request just like this. Okay, so if request exists, and so it might be false, so what we can do, we can do this. Okay, so if request and this exist, then what we can do, we can then get the IP address from either of these statements. So first one is headers, so inside headers we can check for X forward for. Okay, this header basically has the IP address for most cases, but for some server or for some thing it might not have the IP address we are looking for. Okay, so this might have the IP address. If that is not the case, then request dot remote request. If that is not the case, then request dot connection dot remote address might have the address. So since I think this is also deprecated, but I don't see any other option other than that. So okay, so connection, so what we can do, instead of using connection, we can use a message dot socket. Okay, so instead of this, because this is deprecated, so no point of writing it because it is going to be deprecated in some time. Okay, so socket dot address. So guys, these two piece of code can give us the IP address for that we're looking for, the user IP address, right? So once you get this IP address, then it's time to get the user agent as well. So for that, I'm going to write user agent equal to request, and user agents basically lives in this header user agent. Okay, so this header will give us the user agent string. So once we get these two things, what we are going to do, we are going to return it. Okay, return the IP would be the IP, and then the user agent would be the user agent. So let's see what's there. Okay, so this might be undefined. So in that case, what we can do, if the user agent doesn't exist, we'll just give the empty string. Okay, so user agent would be user agent, otherwise it would be a empty string. So not use user agent, it's basically user agent, otherwise it would be empty. Okay, so for the case of IP, we also need to check the type, otherwise it is going to give us a type error. So if you were using JavaScript, then you wouldn't find this kind of error, and then you might get this error in the production. That's not a good idea. That's why we use the TypeScript, right? So let me check if we are having the IP of type string. Then in that case, we just need the IP. Otherwise, what I'll do, I'll send the, if it is array, then we're going to send the array. Otherwise it would be otherwise just this. Okay, so this will give me my IP. Okay, so that is done. But what if it is not the server? So in that case, so let's see what we are going to do. So in that case, what we are going to do, we are going to just return the user agent, and there is no way we can get the IP. So for IP, we just need to say just undefined, or just don't return anything. Okay, it's okay. So this is done, and if all these doesn't satisfy, then what will happen? Then I'll just return null. That means we didn't get anything. Now all our type is satisfied, and our code is also type safe. Now we can use this composable and we can get the IP address of the user. So let me prove it to you very quickly. So what we'll do right here, if we have the long URL where we are redirecting the user, I'm going to use const IP equal to use user agent, and I'll get the IP. And so our package is installed. Now let's import it on top of our file. Import geoip from geoip lite. Okay, so we have that. Now there is some problem. Okay, so because I'm not using it, so let's use it here. So right now what I'll check if the UA, if the user agent has an IP. In that case, if UA exists and if UA exists and UA has an IP, then what I'll do, I will just console.log geoip lookup. So we are going to look up the IP address. So for that, let me just add some extra strings so that we can identify it in our terminal. Okay, so let's save it, let's run our application, and let's go to that page again. So localhost 3000. Okay, so our page is loaded. Now let's go to any of the short link. So I'll just copy here and then I'll paste it right here, and let's enter, and you can see we have the lookup null. We're getting null. You know why? Because we are not having any data, because it's a local address. That's why we're not having a data. I can prove it to you by using some arbitrary, some different IP address, live IP address. So let's check if we can obtain the IP address. So let's check for this IP address. So let's copy it quickly and let's give it here, and let's see what data we are getting. So I'll just go back and I will go to the same link, and you can see we are indeed getting our data. We are getting the country, we are getting the region, we are getting the coordinates of that IP address, right? So we will store all this information into our click table, right here in the click table. So let's do that. Let's close some of this thing and let's start storing the information. So right here, if this all exists, then what I'll do, I will just store it, the information. So I'll just take const geolocation, and I'll send it to here, and then what I will do, I will store this information. So I'll await, then I will do click, sorry, not click, the client dot form. So what is our table name? Clicks. Inside clicks, I'm going to do a insert. Then inside the insert, I'm going to give an object, and that object will have our data. So first thing would be the link ID. And what will be the link ID? The link ID would be our data dot value dot ID, and then our information would be IP, UAIP, and the country would be geolocation. If the country exists, then exist. Otherwise, region will have the city, will have the longitude, latitude data. I don't think we have all these in fields in our database. So let me see what are the fields we have, and we are just going to insert all of those information. So we definitely don't have like we have the IP, we have the country, we have the city, then we have the user agent. We don't have region, so let's remove the region. We have the city, we don't have longitude, latitude. So country, city, and we have the user agent. So user agent would be simply the user agent. Okay, so that is done. So now let's do one thing. Let's replace this with our ua.ip, and we are pretty much good to go. Now it will indeed insert the data in the click. So let's check it. Okay, let's check it quickly, and if any error comes, then also it will not have that click information logged into the database. So let's copy this one, and let's try to visit this. So press enter, and are we getting anything here? Okay, so it is redirected indeed, and we don't have any error. So let's go to our database and let's check if we got anything. Okay, we don't have anything. That is because we don't have any row level security setup, right? So what I like about Supabase and Postgres in general is you have to set up the row level policy, otherwise you cannot insert the data. So let's set up the row level policy, and let's see what is there. So let's add the row level policy for the clicks, create a new policy, and for insert we are just going to see true, because clicks should be inserted by normal user as well. Okay, so we are going to see anon, and then we are going to select true. So the select information, the select operation will be true for everyone, not everyone, the insert operation would be true for everyone. Okay, and so let's review, let's save the policy, and now let's create another policy for reading it. So I guess I have given a wrong name here, so I'll just make it correct. Enable write operation, write access for all users. Okay, so review, save. For the read user, we want the user to be authenticated. Okay, so let's use for read, I mean the select, we need the user to be authenticated. Okay, then true, then let's change it to read. So read and write operation security check has been done. Now let's go back to the dashboard and let's check. So we are getting redirected to the destination. Now let's see if the user agent is getting logged or not. So I'll refresh, and I can see we are not getting logged at all. Why? Let's see. Okay, so let's do some debugging and check why it is not working. So what I'll do, I'll remove this portion. Okay, then I will const. So basically what we get from here is basically the data and error object. Okay, and okay, so I guess we can't have the data because it is already getting used there. So what we'll do, what it returns is basically So let's save the data as a response. Okay, and now let's console.log so that we can see console.log error and the rest. So let's check again, and let's go to that URL again. Okay, so we have res as null, we have error. So it says new row violates row level security policy for the table clicks. So let's review our row level security once again and see what is the issue there. So let's go to the security tab again, and for the read for authenticated user, and for enable the write access, I have set all users, right? So that should work pretty much, but I don't know why it's not working. But let's see. Edit, then we have true, that is just saying anyone can insert on this. So let's save. It is working, I guess. So what I'll do, I'll go back again, and then I will copy it, and then I will enter, click on enter, and it is redirecting me. Let's go back, let's refresh it. There should be another value. So you can see, yes, we are getting the user agent, the created at, and the user agent as well. So we are getting, since we are getting the data. Now one thing I would like to do, if you go to the links, we have one field called total clicks, and these clicks need to be updated whenever someone clicks the data. So there are two ways of doing it. So one is to, whenever we get the links, at the same time count all the clicks. So let's assume an example of our dashboard. So in the dashboard, where we can have n number of cards, right? We can have a number of short links. So in that case, if we are requesting every time you have this card to the clicks, and then you are counting, then it would take a lot of resources, right? Isn't it? And it would end up in a lot more query. So what we'll do, Postgres offer us automated function that will be triggered by the SQL operation. So whenever whenever a data is getting inserted in clicks, what we can do, we can listen for that trigger, and then we can increment this value. So this is pretty easy to do in Supabase. So let's just do that already. So what I'll do, I will go to the database, and then inside the database there is option called functions, right? So this function, let's go inside that and create new function. Click on this create new function. So basically we can now use this thing, okay, create function. So let me just walk you through this function and triggers and all this. So let's click on create new function. So let's give it a name. So for this, what I would like to do, I'd like to give it a name of insert total clicks on links. So it, what it'll do, it will increment the total clicks whenever a click whenever the clicks table is inserted with some data. Okay, so let's just start configuring it. So the return type would be a trigger, that will return a trigger, and for the arguments, we don't need any arguments. So in this, what we are going to do, we are going to use a schema called PL-PGSQL. Okay, so this is a schema that you can use to write this function. So I will start with begin, and then we will update the public dot links, and we'll also set the total clicks, total underscore clicks would be total underscore clicks plus 1. So this will get incremented by 1, and we will also check where id would be the new dot link id. So in the clicks, that would be stored in new. So new dot click link id, if that matches with the id, then we are going to increment with plus 1, and we will return the new. Okay, and then in the end we will just end the function right like that. Okay, and we will also need here as well. So let's click on confirm, and it is added. Since our function is created, now it needs to be triggered on certain action. So let's do that. So just before the trigger, you can see just before the function, you can see there is an option called trigger. Click on it. Then you can see a new button, create new trigger. Click on it. Give your trigger a name. Basically what I do, I just give the function name and then underscore the trigger. Then from here you have to select the table on which you want to activate the trigger. So it would be the clicks. Then inside clicks, what operation do you want? So I want the insert operation to be listened to, and then after each insert, so you have to select a trigger type. So do you want to execute that function before the insert or after the insert? I obviously need to do that after, so I'll select after, and then there will be another option called orientation. So select the orientation, and then you can see fires once for each statement, and there is another one called fires once for each processed row. We on the first option, we want it to be executed every time whenever a new row is getting inserted. So click on row. Now you have to select our trigger. So go there, and then we have our function. So select and then click on confirm. And now if I go back to my dashboard, and then if I click on here, it will redirect me to my destination. And now if I go to my table editor, and then inside clicks, I surely have the data and the ID is 9. So let's go check, and inside the 9 ID 9, let's see if we have, yes indeed we are now getting the total clicks. So let's go to this link as well, and let's see if it is indeed getting replicated for this one as well. So I am not able to copy it, so let's just go back into the dashboard, and what is that, RWL. So let's go for this one. Okay, let's copy it, let's paste it, and let's go. So we are redirected. Now let's go back and let's refresh, and if I refresh, you can see we indeed have the total clicks for the number 7 as well. So this is how, guys, we can automate certain things on basically some operation of SQL. So this is a pretty cool feature of PostgreSQL, and thanks to Supabase for making it so easy to work with. Okay, otherwise if we hadn't have this function, then we would have to like create some different query, maybe we have to join some other query. So it's a really good feature. So since we are now storing all this information, now it's time to show it to the data, to our page. So there is one error I can see, which is okay, so this doesn't have the type. So let's just install the types as well, since we're using TypeScript everywhere, why not here as well. So let's copy it, let's go to the new tab and yarn add d, and now we have the type as well. So type definition is done for the GeoIP, the location is done. Now what I would like to do, I'd like to clean some of the mess here. So I'll just remove this console statement, and there you go. So we now have all this thing. Now let's go to dashboard, So pages, dashboard index. So inside here we have link item. So let's go to the link item component. So inside link item component, let's just try to see if we can if we are getting the total clicks. Okay, so for that we need to take the total clicks from the dashboard. So let's give it here, total clicks would be links.total clicks. Okay, but we have to define it on our page. So total clicks would be number. So save it. Then what we have here, is it number or null? Okay, so if it is null, then what we'd like to do, we'd like to just pass 0 instead of the variable. So that is done. Now let's try to print it somewhere. Now I'm going to close the Supabase because we don't need it anymore. Okay, so we have it here. Now let's try to add that here somewhere here. Okay, so let's print link.total clicks, and indeed we have the link.total clicks. So let's refresh a little bit. Have some problem, so let's rerun the application because we have added some dependency. So Nuxt has this problem, Nuxt 3 basically. So let's refresh. Okay, now we have the clicks count as well. Now let's show it in a good way. It's not looking good right now. So what I'll do, I will take a flex box. So flex, and then I would give a gap of 2, and then I would put this in this div, and I would put the button just beside that. Okay, so we have that. Now let's make it center from top and bottom, and let's give it some style, class text XL. XL is looking good. I guess gap 5 would be very good. Okay, so gap 5. Now the number is there, but user might not find what this number is all about. So I think we should add a new icon. So let's go to hero icon, and let's see if we find any icon for the growth. So this one looking pretty good. So let's copy this one, and let's just paste it here, and let's make it flex as well, and the item center. Instead, let's make it inline flex. Okay, looking good. I would also like to give some margin from right, would be 2, and now you can see we have this awesome number. So that is done. Now let's go ahead and create the details page. So for that, what we will do, we will basically go inside the dashboard and create a dynamic page with id.view, so that we can get the IDs like this. Okay, so now here also let's use our script, and the lang would be TypeScript and setup of course, and inside this I will get the ID from the params. So use route, this composable will give us the params, and for inside the params I'll take the ID. Now I can now fetch the data. So const, and I'll get the data from use async data. Then let's give that ID, and now what I'll do, I'll fetch the data basically from here. Okay, and then this ID has to be string, so let's convert it to string. So now let's do that. So const, so we'll get the data as response, and we'll also get the error, and we'll find it from the client. So let's use the client from the dashboard itself. So we'll use this thing, client, and we'll paste it here. We'll obviously have to add the database, so we'll add that as well. Now let's fetch the data. So const data as res and the error as normal error, and we'll await for it. So client dot form, so we'll form links actually, then we'll select, and now we'll do something. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll select all, and also we will get the relation, so all the clicks as well we are getting, and we will match it with the key. So key, sorry, not end with dot, sorry, just hold on a second. Okay, so now let's just format it quickly because it's not looking good right now. So click, and now equal to key would be our ID. Okay, so that, and now we just want the single record, single. Okay, so this will give us our data. Now let's do one thing. Let's just print the data into, okay, first we have to return it. Okay, we have to return the response so that we get it. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's, inside our template, let's just give empty 20, and let's just print the data. Let's see if we are getting the data. Okay, so let's save it, and there is no way to click, so let's go to the link item and add the click, add the Nuxt link component. So for this thing, we'll make it clickable, so let's give it Nuxt link, and 2 would be, let's do it like this way, dashboard slash, we'll have that dashboard slash link dot short key. Okay, so that is done. Now it should be clickable. Let's refresh it. Okay, it is clickable. Now let's click on it and see what happens. It says the page doesn't exist. So what we'll do, I'll do one thing. I'll just rerun the server again, because there is some file changes and it needs to be registered in the Nuxt. So let's save and let's see what happens. Okay, so see, we are getting the clicks data as well. Now we just need to show it in a proper manner. So let's do that. So we have the data, now we just need to show it. Okay, so first thing what I'll do, I will have the total clicks count here and the ID somewhere here. So let's do that. So I'll just check the index page what we have here. We have pt28, so I'll just copy the same thing, and so let's do that. Main pt20, and now I will have the header would be h1. Inside h1 we would have the data dot key. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll also have a check in the place so that I don't have to write data everywhere. So if data exists only, then render this page. Okay, So now data.key we have, and let's make it a real big class text 5xl. Let's give it a color text primary. We don't have primary, amber 500. So then let's make it font bold, and let's also give like this. Okay, and just below that I would like to have the small long URL as well. Okay, so basically let me just make it real quick, and I would also have it inside a container. So inside container, now we have it, and let's add the clicks, but before that let's give some margin for top, maybe margin 2. Now let's have the click data, empty5, sorry, not like that, margin 5. Now let's have the card, and so I have an idea. So instead of just showing it here, what you can do, we can have a text area, and then we can add the copy functionalities as well. So here what we'll do, we'll give just the link dot created at, sorry, data dot created at, and I will also give some margin from empty5. And for the cards, what I'll do, I'll give the card like that, and I'll also make it text editable. Okay, so there is a property that we can turn on to make a text editable. So let's see if we can find it. Okay, now we need another card. So basically this card is done. Now let's have another card. So inside this card we'll have the total clicks. So another h2 I'll take, and then I'll make the data dot total clicks. So total clicks, I would make it real big, class text 6xl, and I would also like to make it font bold, and let's see how it looks. But before that, make it flex, and let's give a gap of 5. And so this text is getting out of the bound. So what I'll do, I will say truncate. So truncate would just cutting it down. So what I'll do, I'll make it horizontally scrollable. So overflow x auto. So this is make it scrollable. So if the link is very big, let it be 1000 word big, I don't care. Now I have a scroller and it will not be breaking the layout. So now we have 2, and let's write the label as well. So for the label, let's write div as total clicks, so that user understand what this is about. And this is the ID. This is the long URL. Now they can see the long URL. And now let's create the section for our clicks data. Okay, clicks card. So I'll take a container. Inside the container I will get card. So let's have some spacing. So empty5, and let's give empty10, and let's add h2 clicks log, and I would also like to make it a little bit bigger. So text 2xl and MB5. Okay, now let's loop through it. So before click in data dot clicks, and let's just print and let's see what we are getting. So we have this information. Now let's give some margin from the bottom. Okay, so we have the created at, we have the IP, so let's print the IP address. So let's take a flex, then in the div let's print the IP, click dot IP, click dot IP. Hold on a minute. So click, and then we can have the IP address. Click dot, but it might be null, so what we'll do, we'll check for that as well. So if click exists, it cannot be null, so I am making some mistakes, I guess. So let's check. Okay, let's check what is there. Let's just make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so it says click data can be string, number, and it can be the object as well, so we have to check for that as well. So what I would like to do, I'd like to check right here. So if type of click is object, then I will go ahead, click and click, sorry, not here, actually in here. So this is just the type that they generated, Supabase generated, so we don't have any other option other than just check whether the type is object or not. So if it is object, then that means we have the IP property, right? So let's have that IP property, and we don't need this again. So now let's make it text LG, font bold, and text amber 500. Now let's go and check. Yes, we have the IP. Just below that, I would like to show the created at. So click dot created at, so that user can see when it is created. And now here in the other div, I would like to just show the click dot country. Do we have a country? So let's check. We don't have a country because this is just a local IP, so the country would be empty. But once it goes to the public, once we just deploy it, then we'll have the country option as well. So we'll have the country, then we'll have the city. Okay, so we'll just give justify between, so that it just stick to the edge of the card. And there you go, we have all this here. So I'd also like to make it vertically centered, so item centered I'll give, and there it is. Now let's remove all this data, and we have our link details page like this. One thing that is missing, let's make it pure white. It's not purely white right now. So what I'll do, I'll go inside the first container and make it text white. Okay, so this is done. Now let's go back to our home page. Let's go to the dashboard. Inside the dashboard, we have all these links. Now let's go click on these links, and yeah, we have this link, long URL, we have one total clicks and the click logs. Okay, so the total details page is done. So what we have done in this video is basically, let's go inside and let's see. So we have created this click matrix. So whenever someone clicks on this short URL, which you will share from the user, that would be logged here. The total clicks will update automatically using a process called Supabase trigger and Supabase function. So once you click on it, you can see whoever clicked on your links, and you can see the logs, the whole logs about that links. Okay, and on top of that, you can see the log URL and the details of that link. So what we have done all these things today in this video. So now it is time to deploy the application. So for deploying, we are going to be using Vercel. So let's go to Vercel. So before deploying, we need to make few things clear. We need the environment variable file. So let's see what we have in our environment variable. So in our environment variable, we have these three things. So let's so once we have all the information of our environment variable, let's go to Vercel, click on add new project, click on project, and now click on continue with GitHub. And your GitHub is, once the GitHub is selected, select what you are going to deploy. So for my case, I'm going to be deploying shorty Nuxt.3. So I'm not seeing it because I have not published it to my GitHub yet. So in order to deploy, what the first thing you need to do, you need to publish it to the GitHub. So let's do that. So to publish it to the GitHub, what you can do, you can create a GitHub repository and then add it to your panel. So GitHub, let's go to GitHub and let's click on new. Then I'm going to name it shorty-nuxt3, and I'm going to make it public and click on create repository. Once the repository is done, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my terminal, and in the terminal I'm going to be writing git init. So git would be initialized. Now what I'll do, I'll add the remote. So just copy this command from here and then copy it, then paste it in your terminal, and then click on enter. Your remote repository will be added. Now you need to commit. So let's add all these changes. Now let's write our first commit. Initial commit. Okay, so our commit is now added. Now what we can do, we can write git push origin main. So it will push our code to the GitHub repository. So if I refresh, now you can see my code is deployed on GitHub. So now my code is in remote location. Now what I can do, I can go to Vercel and then I can check for this project, and then I can click on import. So what will happen, how git based deployment work is basically, let's say next time you are changing some pages or something, then you push it to your GitHub, then Vercel will automatically detect the change and then it will redeploy your project. Is that easy? So now click on deploy, but before that let's click on the environment variables and let's keep the environment variables. So for example, for en file, go to your en file, give your Supabase URL here and then give the value. So click on add, then for the next one copy and then copy the JWT key, then click on add, and then for the first one app URL, just let's keep it empty for now because we don't have any app URL yet, but let's just put something, okay, some arbitrary value, something like this. we'll change it once it is deployed and we get a free domain from Vercel. So now click on deploy. It will start building your project. Since it is building, and if you are still here with me, what I want you to do, I want you to subscribe this channel and share this video with your friend. So let's wait and let's see how long does it take to deploy. Wow, our project is now deployed. We came to the end of this video, but first let's try to visit our newly deployed website together. So what I'll do, I will just open up my I will just make it full width so that I can see and I can also show you, and I will drag myself to the corner so that my face doesn't distract your views. So let's click on this and let's see. Okay, as you can see, we have the deployed version of the website. So if you are following this video series and you are also creating this project, then I would also like to see what new you have done. What you can do, you can tag me on Twitter and then you can share what you have built using this tutorial. Okay, so don't forget to do that, and let's test if it is working properly or not. So what I'll do, I'll click on continue with GitHub, but I hope it will not work, because I will tell you why. Because we don't have the redirect URL setup. Okay, so you can see it has redirected us to our local environment. So what we can do, we can go to the Supabase website and we have to update the URL, the authorization URL actually. So this is our URL, the new URL right now. So what I'll do, I'll go to my my Supabase, I will sign in, and inside my project, then there would be this authentication option, and inside authentication there would be providers. Inside providers in GitHub, so this is all set, but now I have to do a URL configuration as well. So this is, you can see the site URL. This is not our site URL, so let's add a URL. So this is our URL, and let's save it. And now another thing I would like to do, in our GitHub also I have to give the URL. So let's go to GitHub, go to settings. Inside the settings there is a developer settings. Go to developer settings, and there you would find OAuth apps. Then you can see Shorty. Then inside Shorty there would be something called the authorization callback. This is already set. Now let's try. Okay, let's try it, and let's change the site URL as well. From here, let's click on save, and now let's refresh our main website, and now let's click on continue with GitHub, and we are back to our main website. Isn't it amazing? So now I can go inside the page. Now I can short this link. So I'll short, and I'll click on short. It will short my link and it will show me here, and then so you can see we are able to create the short URL and all. So let's check if the logout function is working properly. So yeah, the login is also working. Guys, this is the end of this video, and I hope you liked this series and you enjoyed this journey with me. So this is it, and let me know if you have any question. If you are stuck somewhere, join my GitHub, sorry, not GitHub, join my Discord server. And if you are stuck somewhere, just join and let's have a discussion. And if you have any suggestion or feedback or anything, just comment it down. I would obviously I see each and every comment, because I get so less comment these days. So yeah, do that. And if you have enjoyed this video, then give me a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe the channel. I will meet you in the next video. Till then, keep coding, keep rocking. Bye.